What's good, everyone? I hope you guys are having an amazing day. Let's talk about how to hit diamond in Apex Legends. I recently put out a question asking what your goal rank was for this season, and the majority of players said diamond. This isn't shocking. The average player is around plat, so diamond is a very, very good rank to hit. Last split, I hit diamond pretty quickly, and this split, I'm already plat 2, so I'm on the way to it. So let me tell you guys what's working for me and what's not. All right, so quick update. We actually just hit diamond again. Say look at this. So double diamond. I literally hit this very, very quickly, honestly. So yeah, make sure to stick around to the end of the video and make sure to listen to all these tips. I'm going to be going a little more in depth than I did my last video because I do have another video on how to escape plat, but this one's going to be specifically for diamond and what's working for me right now. Tip number 1, this is probably going to be the same tip for a lot of videos, but of course it is don't solo queue. Like I said before, it's possible to solo queue to diamond, to masters, to even pred if you're that good of a player, but unfortunately, I'm not. I mainly duo queue with either a friend. Sometimes I have a full squad, but not really. I've tried solo queuing, but to me personally, it's just not fun and it's just not a good experience. Hear me out and let me know if I'm right. Number 1, you have teammates that don't use their mic. It's pretty much all of plat. Doesn't really get better in diamond, so that's definitely true. Number 2, you have teammates who push full teams head on, die, and then leave before you can even grab their banner. Or 3, you get very, very toxic teammates who literally just rage at the mic or just don't talk until the moment that they die, saying stuff like, oh, why am I pushing alone? Blah, 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 why isn't my team here? You guys know how it is. The reality of the matter is that you're going to get teammates like that regardless, no matter what rank you're in. But there are certain things you can do to hopefully not solo queue. Like I mentioned before, the Apex Legends Discord is a very good resource. Definitely take advantage of that. If you're on console, you guys have LFG posts where you guys can look for people as well. If you find a good person in game that you just recently played a match with and you want to go ahead and add them and invite them, a lot of times that works for me. Go ahead and do that. Don't be shy. You know, it's your time to get social and really just make friends with someone because you need them. Tip number 2, this is probably the most important fight that got me to diamond last split fairly easily, and it's picking the quick fights / the easy KP fights. Let me tell you what I mean. So there are certain scenarios where sometimes you'll get into a gunfight and pretty much 30 seconds in, you'll kind of gauge if the gunfight's going to take longer than a couple minutes or not. That's just how it is. I don't know if it's just game sense or awareness, but you know, a higher ranked player will be able to know just how long a fight takes. In order to gauge this, you need to look at positioning. Positioning is the biggest thing. A lot of times, you know, you're out of zone and this teammate's holding you in zone. It's going to be a very, very long fight because they have an advantage. And it's not easy KP. You should rotate around. You should do something different. Valkyrie, it's very, very important to have some sort of movement legend to get you out of there. Wraith, Valkyrie, Pathfinder is very, very good on a lot of these maps. Yeah, just always have some sort of transport legend. That being said, anyone can argue that there isn't such a thing as a quick fight in Apex. That's because it's third-party city. You know what I mean? As soon as you finish fighting someone, a third party will roll up and you're pretty much dead within seconds, which is why a lot of times high ranked players wait until end zone, play very, very passive, wait until the end zone and get their KP that way. Or they prefer long range weapons such as the charge rifle. You know, I see the charge rifle more than I see my parents at this point. Like, the charge rifle is crazy in these higher ranked lobbies. So it's all about just finding something that works for you. If you're better off playing long distance and waiting until the end of zone to get your KP, play that way. That's the way you're going to get your easy KP. If you feel like you're better at just rushing in, getting a quick fight and getting out, do it that way. Gauge what works for you. Tip number 3, this one's very, very important for me. It's patience. And when I mean patience, it's a lot of different things. Number 1, the number 1 example I'm going to use here is knocked teammates. A lot of times when you see a knocked teammate, your first priority is obviously to go pick them up or run into the building to help them fight. Sometimes when you have 2 knocked teammates, for example, sometimes your best option is to just run away and play for placement. And that's hard to say, really. But now with legends that can actually craft banners, this is more doable. I've had plenty of situations in plat where both of my teammates have died and have crafted their banners later on just because I quickly evaded a fight and was able to res them just that way. You know, just because you lose your teammates, it's not the end of the world. You know, your teammates might get a little mad at you, but at the end of the day, you're saving them and gaining them RP. So they're just gonna have to deal with it. One thing I forgot to mention in the video that's actually a very, very big problem that I see in lower ranks is that everybody wants to be an IGL. Okay, and in these lower ranks, I don't think it's necessary to have an IGL at all. I think these are the moments where you should really be communicating and coordinating with your team as much as possible. Yes, for the pro scene, and yes, for Apex Predators and stuff like that, they all have an IGL, right? It's the person who makes the tough calls. It's also the person you can put all the blame on, you know, when things go wrong. Starting out, I don't think it's smart to have an IGL. You know what I mean? I think it's good to have someone, you know, hinting towards, you know, shots, but I think it's very, very important that the whole team communicates and assumes a very comfortable fight for all of them, a very winnable fight. And yeah, I just think a lot of people have a very, very big egos because, you know, they see all these big pro players and streamers doing certain things and they want to be just like it. That's cool and all, but don't throw my RP, you know? But going back to patience, it's just knowing when and how to engage, okay? The number one most important thing in Apex is positioning. We all know that. High ground wins fights. You know, wherever someone is correlated in zone wins fights. People that sit center zone with a Caustic, a Watson, a Rampart, a lot of times those people, you know, they're rats and they stay in these buildings, but they probably win a lot of games like that. Well, until they get aped by a good team and then they just end up dying. But I mean, they got some sort of a right idea. You know, just be patient. You know, the gunfights will come to you. I promise you. If you're not fighting someone all game, it's surprising, but it'll come to you. All right, so tip number 4, let's talk about zone. I talk about this pretty much in any type of ranked tips video. Zone is very, very important. It's the dictating factor on how teams are going to play you. It determines how you rotate. It just determines on what fights to pick and which fights to not pick. That being said, how should you play zone? Early rotations are pretty much ideal. You don't really want to take fights that are out of zone, especially not in these lower ranked lobbies, because a lot of times you get these players that are hard stuck in plat and they just don't really care what they're doing and will literally just rush you for fun. My best advice here is to rotate early. Always know where zone is. Use legends that can scan ring early so you can get that high, you know, higher advantage and you can find a spot in zone to kind of chill, wait for teams to rotate into you. That's probably the easiest KP you'll get when you have a very, very good position and these teammates have to rotate in from zone. A lot of times they come in weak from either zone or from fighting another team and they just got to get out. So this is exactly where you're going to shine and pick these teams off. Zone in Apex Legends can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. So keep that in mind. Tip number 5, let's talk about the right legend choices. Now, I actually want to make a video on this where I break down a tier list on what's actually working in Apex, so stay tuned for that. But like I mentioned earlier, there's specific legends that you kind of want to run on your team. Number 1 is the rotation legend. This is ideal. You need some sort of legend that can help you rotate. Best picks here are Valkyrie and Pathfinder. I'm seeing the most of. Valkyrie's ultimate ability has always proven to be successful, even in higher pred lobbies. Pathfinder is very, very ideal, especially with this buff that he got where it makes, you know, his zip line go literally across the map. Wraith is also very, very good. You know, all these bald Wraiths, you know, they're very, very good at tap strafing, super gliding and stuff, but the ultimate ability of that portal now that's also gotten buffed as well is amazing. It helps a lot in fights. And a lot of times these bald Wraiths use it for like kidnapping someone, but that's not the only things that you're used for. It's a very, very good rotation skill. Besides the rotation legend, which is ideal, the other two you can pretty much switch swap. You know, find a legend that you're comfortable with, find a legend that can do a lot of work. By a lot of work, I mean, sometimes people like to do a lot of damage, some people like to do a lot of fortitude. It really just depends on what type of play style you're going to play. You know, for example, if you want to play buildings and if you want to play like end zone and get a early head start, Caustic, Watson, Rampart. On the other hand, if you want to rush a lot of people and, you know, gain a lot of entry, Ash is very good for, you know, completely rushing teams. Maggie's also viable in terms of like her Q and her Maggie ball. Again, it's all personal preference. In my opinion, it works better when you have one of each in terms of rotation, entry, and like a trap. But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video. I don't want to make it too long for you guys. That's pretty much it in detail. I'm still debating on you know, kind of grinding for masters, but if I do, I definitely expect a video on that as well. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.